Joey Ehas will kick. Chris Culliver is deep as South Carolina will get the ball first. Gamecocks 3 weeks ago were number 6 in the country. Steve Spurrier said we are not the number 6 team in the country, and boy, he was right.
Well, they went from 6 to 16 to see you later in terms of the polls.
Culliver at the 4. Nice cut. Gets some extra yardage up to the 22-yard line. To tell us about the South Carolina offense, here's George Rogers.
Starting at quarterback on offense, 5th-year senior Blake Mitchell. At running back, my man, Corey Boyd. At wide receiver, Kenny McKisley. And anchoring that offensive line, Webb Brown.
Thank you, George, the 1980 Heisman winner.
George has to like the way that Corey Boyd has run the football the last couple of weeks. Offensively, this team has played very well in defeat the last couple of weeks.
Snap is fumbled, and Florida has the ball on the first play at the 21.
Well, that's not a good start.
Well, you said they had to get off to a good start. Yeah. Blake Mitchell couldn't even take the snap from center, and Brandon Spikes, the middle linebacker, was there to pounce on it.
Well, Webb Brown, the center, is their anchor up there, and that ball never got up to the hands of Blake Mitchell. I don't know if it slipped out of the center's hands or what, but no chance for Blake Mitchell. Look, that ball comes right between his legs, never even gets up to his top hand. You tell the quarterback, put that top hand right up on the center's butt, give him an aiming point. That ball hit him in the ankle.
What a hideous beginning for South Carolina. Tebow looking downfield, avoids the rush and takes off. 15 out of bounds at the 11, gained possibly 10. To tell us about the Gator offense, here's Chris DeMarco.
The Gators offense is led by sophomore Heisman candidate Tim Tebow, who has 14 rushing touchdowns this year, which breaks an SEC record. On the outside, we got Bubba Caldwell. Bubba Caldwell's a deep threat anytime. The offensive line has given us 25 rushing touchdowns for the year, which is a Gator best.
DeMarco, a Florida student, turned pro on the PGA Tour in 1990. His nephew's a backup fullback for South Carolina.
One of 18 recruits or players on the South Carolina roster from the state of Florida.
Brandon James, the little guy in the backfield. James will get the carry. Stopped for nothing, and it was Casper Brinkley from his right defensive end spot.
I think it's really important to emphasize what Holly talked about in the open, and that is how important Percy Harvin has been to this Florida offense, especially with Tim Tebow not being healthy the last couple weeks. They tried to get him 20 touches a game, and he had become a dynamic playmaker as a runner as well as a receiver. The last 2 games, he carried the ball 21 times for over 200 yards of rushing. They'll find other ways to get the ball to other playmakers, but again, a healthy Tim Tebow means more runs from the quarterback position than we've seen in the last 3 weeks.
He did get enough for a first down. They can get a first down inside the 1-yard line. Tebow with the keeper inside the 10. For that Gamecock defense, let's go back to George Rogers.
Starting for the South Carolina Gamecocks on defense, bookends, Eric Norwood and Casper Brinkley. Started at outside linebacker, Cliff Matthews, a freshman. And hard hitting in the defensive backfield, Emmanuel Cooks.
Thank you, George. Marquise Pouncey, who was the starting right guard, a 6'4", 311-pound freshman, is the player down for the Gators. Maurice Hurt, number 74, is in for Pouncey as he was able to get to the sideline.
Caldwell in the backfield. This is where Harvin would normally be.
And he gets the carry. Bubba Caldwell to the 5, spins. That's it. Swarmed under by the black-shirted Gamecock defense led by Casper Brinkley.
It's an important situation here for the South Carolina defense. Gave up, as we said, 651 yards last week at Arkansas. Over 500 of that on the ground. They got a sudden change situation to start the game tonight. Not what you would hope to do to your defense right out of the gate. But now they have a chance on 3rd down to see if they can force a field goal attempt and get a stop here for the defense.
Empty backfield for Tebow. They really love to spread the field and have him run the quarterback keeper out of sets like this. But South Carolina has men in the middle. Tebow now takes off, spins his way into the end zone. 4 guys had shots at him, but nobody got a good one. But you need to hit him solidly or he's going to get the extra yardage. Ehas with the point after, and the Gators take advantage of the opening drive fumble, and they go up 7-0 against South Carolina. In Gator history, Emmitt Smith and Buford Long both had 14. He is a special player. Culliver this time on a short kick from the 9. Lowers his head and drives out to the 27. Todd back to the touchdown.
Well, you're going to see South Carolina is only going to rush 2 guys from the outside. Now that's going to leave 4 defenders in here with nobody blocking him, because this is not a designed quarterback run. As Tim Tebow drops back, the linemen are pass protecting. Now when he takes off right now, you can see these guys are too deep. You can't let Tim Tebow get a full head of steam and run the football on you like that. He just powered his way into the end zone.
Corey Boyd, the deep man in the eye, and Boyd will take the toss. Cut it straight back up the middle, up to the 33. Corey Boyd with 785 yards rushing coming in has a legitimate shot at 1,000. You gotta love this kid when you watch him play.
Yeah, well, the last time we watched him was against Tennessee. He had 160 yards on 20 carries. He had 94 yards last week in the losing effort to Arkansas. He's also caught 35 passes. So, I mean, he is a versatile back who has had a big-time year.
And this school has not had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2000. Boyd spins for a couple there. He's up to the 35-yard line. And to tell us about the Gator defense, once again, Chris DeMarco.
The D-line is led by Derrick Harvey, who has 6.5 sacks this year. We've had to pull number 55 Pouncey from the offensive line to the defensive line due to injuries. In the middle, we have Brandon Spikes. He has 88 tackles this year and is second most in the SEC. And in the back, we got Tony Joyner, who's a safety who we'll be looking to for his leadership.
You watch Chris play in the President's Cup and the Ryder Cup. He doesn't back down from anybody. And there is Pouncey having to go to the locker room on the cart. That's not a good sign for them. Davison at tailback, and Mitchell to throw. Tried to get it to Dion LaCorn. Hayden was there, and here's Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, Florida lineman Marquise Pouncey is being carted off the field for x-rays on his right ankle. He was barely able to put any weight on it. They had to support him. I can tell you he's very dejected. He is in a lot of pain, and so at this point it does not look good. I'll update you as soon as we hear more about the x-rays.
And Holly, this is such a young ball club that any backups they have, usually inexperienced. Suck up to kick. James, who is second in the country in punt returns, is back. One of those rugby kicks, and it backfired on him.
They tried to rugby kick away from Brandon James, and Suckup took too long and then went right in to the rush.
And it was John Curtis, number 24, with a gift block.
The rush is going to come from this side, and that's the way that Suckup is going to go, to try to kick the ball to the sideline away from Brandon James. The only problem is he didn't get it away from the rush. John Curtis right in there to make the block.
Mike Davis was the blocker, and he got paid.
He sure did. Boy, oh boy.
Davis just got run over, and the Gators will set up shop again, this time at the 22. Florida is too good offensively to give them this kind of help. Tebow throws incomplete. That one was knocked away at the sideline. Let's take a look at tonight's X Factor, presented by Dell.
Well, for Florida, how are they going to replace Percy Harvin's touches? How are they going to get the ball into some of their other playmakers' hands? South Carolina, it was all about starting strong. The last 3 weeks, they've gotten blown out in the first half. Well, they're right back at it again tonight. A very poor start. The turnover on their first possession and the block punt on their second.
You have to get the X Factor in faster. Tebow with a fake, throws again, wide open, touchdown. Jared Faison beat the secondary, an easy throw from Tebow. Well, South Carolina may be used to being behind, but this is ridiculous. He hides for the point after. He has not missed this year, and he hits the upright. It's the only thing that's gone wrong for Florida and right for South Carolina.
Well, Tebow's going to just play action fake to himself. He steps into the line, and with his eyes, he holds the free safety in the middle of the field. Watch him keep his eyes right in the middle, and at the last minute slip over and find Faison down the seam of the defense. Andre Caldwell occupies the outside defender, and Faison just slips in right between the safety and the corner. Pitch and catch for Florida.
That's 11 straight games. He's had at least one of each.
And that's every game this season that Florida has had a run or a pass touchdown, and a run or pass touchdown in every game. Houston, the only other team that's done that.
And this ball's kicked out of bounds. What a devastatingly bad start for South Carolina. Oh, you can just bet Steve Spurrier is fuming already.
Free kick infraction. Kick out of bounds on the kick. Play at the 35-yard line. Out.
South Carolina with 2 turnovers in 5 plays. Mitchell straight back to throw. Right down the middle, and that one is complete. Nice throw to Kenny McKinley, his 63rd grab of the year before he's knocked down by Tony Joyner, gain of 20.
Blake Mitchell, really, ever since they put him back into the starting lineup, he came in relief in the Tennessee game, played very well in that game, played well against Arkansas last week. He can throw the football.
Yes,
Kenny McKinley can run and get open and catch the football. But you got to give him time. You've got to protect Blake Mitchell, and the running game does that, and the offensive line doing a better job does that as well.
Empty backfield here as Boyd went in motion and now sets up as a wide receiver. Mitchell again throws out to McKinley, and McKinley inside the 30 to the 26-yard line. What a game he had against Tennessee. 14 catches, 151 yards, most of those in the second half. This kid can really play.
Quick throw, so it helps your protection. 1, 2, 3, the ball's gone. This is a patented Steve Spurrier route. Start with a split that's in towards the numbers, and then throw the fade out to the sideline. Very difficult to defend if the ball's thrown on time and in the right position. Both of them true on that one.
Cook and Boyd in the double tight end set. Now Cook goes wide. McKinley in the slot near side. Mitchell straight back to throw. Cook, the tight end, inside the 4 to the 3. It'll be 1st and goal. Major Wright, the safety, had to make the tackle.
And Jared Cook is a matchup problem for any defensive back because he's big, 6'5", 235 pounds, and he's fast. He runs a 4.37. So he's a very big, fast wide receiver. You can see he just went up over the defender for the football on that particular play.
Mitchell comes out hot. He's hit completions of 20, 19, and 23 yards. What do you have, Holly?
Well, the Florida defensive coaches were screaming at their secondary, trying to get them to move. There was confusion. They didn't do it in time. A.J. Jones, the linebacker, was in the wrong place, and Charlie Strong just gave him an earful here on the sideline, guys.
And Mitchell doesn't like the formation and the personnel he has, and will use a timeout on 1st and goal from the 3. South Carolina trying to respond to shooting itself in the foot. 1st and goal here for South Carolina. Boyd on the toss. Didn't have a chance to lost the ball. And it looked like Blake Mitchell got it back, but Tony Joyner came flying up from the safety spot from the outside.
He timed the blitz perfectly. I mean, you'd never want to pitch into a strong safety blitz, but Tony Joyner just timed it perfectly. Here he is right here, and he's going to come across the line right as the ball's being pitched to Boyd. Almost impossible to avoid that, and Blake Mitchell is the guy who goes in there and gets the football. You never want to toss sweep into a strong safety blitz unless you've got the fullback out there picking him up.
So now to the shotgun on 2nd and goal. Mitchell moves up under center, and Boyd goes behind him. Mitchell to the end zone to Cook.
Wow.
Touchdown.
That was an audible by Blake Mitchell, too. That's why he moved up under the center, changed the play, and went to his big tight end in the back of the end zone.
And made a perfect throw.
Against double coverage. This was not an easy throw for Blake Mitchell. He called the play to throw to Jared Cook, but watch the double coverage on the intended receiver, and Blake Mitchell just sticks it right between them for the touchdown.
Nice catch by Cook, his 3rd touchdown grab of the year. Got a knee down and had the ball.
He has been a guy the last 3 weeks now has become another target for Steve Spurrier in this offense. I mean, Kenny McKinley had been doing it by himself for the most part early in the season, but now over the last couple weeks you've had Jared Cook stepping up, you've had Dion LaCorn stepping up as another wide receiver, and that's why this offense has been much more productive.
They've reviewed it. It is a touchdown.
Don't have to hear his words, just see those arms go up in the air. We know what that means.
Tim Tebow is on Todd's short list for the Heisman. When we come back, we'll find out who else is on that. First, the extra point from Suckup, who's already had a punt blocked. We've had 2 kicking mistakes in this game, but not a third as Suckup knocks it through. And it's 13-7. Gators on top. What's he got beside him?
Seeds.
2 minutes on that drive, and it's a big answer for South Carolina. James and Moore are deep. James gives ground, taken down at the 30, trying to make something happen, and he couldn't.
The top 3 guys there, all the same kind of quarterbacks. Dual threat guys, runners and throwers. Dixon and White, more elusive, make you miss guys when they run. Tebow, who leads the nation in pass efficiency, more of a power runner. Then you got Matt Ryan of Boston College, a prototype NFL guy, and Darren McFadden, who's the runner-up last year, I think is still in the picture after his 319-yard performance last week against South Carolina.
Tebow, little half roll to his strong side, and they'll pick up about 8 on the throw to Lewis Murphy, who is 2nd on the club in receiving. Here's Holly.
Guys, the South Carolina defense just got a major blow. Their best playmaker back there, Captain Munnerlyn, is out for the game with a left foot injury. Now, this had been an injury that had plagued him the last couple of weeks. They weren't sure if he could play. He definitely tried, but no go. In his place, Stoney Woodson looks like he's out on the field right now, guys. That is a huge loss.
And Woodson, Holly, had been out for so long because of a bad ham. He's one of their 3 best defensive players. That's a big loss for them.
Yeah. Well, not only is Munnerlyn their best cover corner, but he's a playmaker. I mean, he's a guy who's very tough against the run. He leads the team in interceptions with 3. I mean, he's a guy who makes big plays, and they will sorely miss him.
Made a bunch of them against Tennessee when they made that second half comeback. First down on the run by Keyston Moore. They're up the 44-yard line. South Carolina defense needs to stand here a little bit. They've given up touchdowns after 2 offensive turnovers. Moore, 2 yards, and pushed back.
There you see what happened last week against Arkansas. 541 yards rushing. Darren McFadden and Felix Jones, each with big days. And the problem really was poor tackling, missed assignments, and then just the speed of those 2 guys when they got into the second level of the defense against some wrong fits by the defense. They turned into huge plays.
Tebow fakes the handoff, keeps it on the quarterback run, gets up to the 50. Poor tackling and missed assignments. There isn't much else on defense, is there?
Unless you don't have 11 lined up out there. That'd be about the only other thing. But again, when you play against really good players, and coaches all say this, defensive football is about 11 guys doing their job. Everybody has a space they're supposed to fill, and if one guy doesn't do it against good players, they can expose you, and that's what happened last week.
Now the crowd trying to get into it. 5 wides. Tebow on 3rd and 4. They show blitz and they come. Tebow hangs in the pocket, throws to Caldwell. He makes the catch to 42. That'll be a first down. Addison Williams makes the stop. He's getting more and more playing time this year.
Well, nice job by Tim Tebow, knowing they were going to bring more guys than he could block. Norwood gets a shot on him at the end, but he stays in there and delivers an accurate throw to Caldwell. Caldwell's a guy who was banged up early in the year, and over the last 3 or 4 weeks has really picked up his pace and has become a big-time playmaker once again in this offense. Was out with a knee injury for most of the first part of the season. 100% healthy now.
Had a career-high 9 catches against Vanderbilt. Tebow with all day to throw for the end zone. Incomplete. Out of the hands of Lewis Murphy. That was an easy touchdown, and he couldn't hold it. Carlos Williams was beaten badly, and it was a perfect throw.
Well, Tebow just bought himself a little extra time. He just moved a little bit in the pocket, and that enabled Murphy to separate. And it looks like he went up and just almost tried to cradle that ball and not able to come down with it. Carlos Thomas gets his hand in there late. Even though he was beat on the play, he didn't quit on the play and able to get the deflection for the incompletion.
Murphy, a 6'2 junior with a 3-inch height advantage. 7 defensive backs in for South Carolina. They show blitz again. Now they back out of it. Tebow on the option. With the toss out to Faison, and Faison will be short of a first down. Eric Norwood made the tackle. Urban Meyer, in his 7th year as a head coach, his 3rd with the Gators. He has won 81.7% of the games in his career among active coaches. That is number 3.
He's a young coach with an old school approach. He's very much an old school guy in terms of wanting to run the football, be physical, hard practices, a lot of tough love, but players love him.
3rd and 2, Tebow. Maybe just short. Going to bring up a decision down. Lottie Ajaboy, number 91, made the stop. Always good against the run.
The thing with Tebow, he hurt his right shoulder, his non-throwing shoulder, in the 3rd quarter against Kentucky 3 weeks ago. So the next game they played Georgia, and he didn't run the ball very much, and he was protecting that shoulder. He ended up getting sacked 6 times, which, you know, that doesn't make sense that a guy who can run as well as Tim Tebow would get sacked. But they didn't want him running the football. Then he only ran the ball a season-low 6 times last week against Vanderbilt. Well, he's 100% healthy tonight. That's why already in this ballgame we've seen him carry the football, lower that shoulder, fight for tough yardage.
They are short by the length of a football.
It's just so he's such an interesting player because he's throwing the ball well this year, leads the nation in pass efficiency, 22 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, but he's also a bruising runner. I mean, he's their leading rusher, and he's their best goal line and short yardage and power runner. I mean, who do you think's going to run the football here?
Tebow?
I think so, unless they throw it.
Straight ahead, 235 pounds. He didn't make it this time. Somebody got to his ankles. It looked like Casper Brinkley and cut him down.
Boy, if that's true, it would be a huge stop for this South Carolina defense.
Lost a half a yard.
Not even close. A defense that gave up 540 yards rushing last week. 4th and short, they come up with a huge play. Casper Brinkley behind the line of scrimmage. He beat Maurice Hurt, who's the new guard in the game. Remember, Marquise Pouncey was hurt early in the ball game. Maurice Hurt is in the game now, and he was beat that time by Brinkley.
South Carolina, which was beating itself early with a snapped fumble on the first play from scrimmage and then a blocked punt, which set up both touchdowns, now doing the job on both sides of the ball. Boyd runs into a wall at the line of scrimmage.
Well, I don't have a favorite. I do think it's kind of interesting, though. Both Gordon and Johnson are both members of the Hendricks race team, but Jeff Gordon actually owns Jimmy Johnson's car. That's kind of an unusual deal.
Got the pink slip and everything.
Yeah.
Very good on the reception. Tony Joyner for the Gators.
Johnson with 3 straight wins. Jeff Gordon, though, with 2 championships. But Richard, you'll never catch me with Adam Petty, has 7.
And Jeff Gordon, I think, won the spring race in Phoenix when they ran. So we'll see. Right now, big third down for South Carolina.
4 wideouts. And Boyd behind Mitchell. Short set, throws the fade to the other side and bobbled and dropped by LaCorn. That was another nice throw by Mitchell. Wandy Pierre-Louis over there on defense for the Gators.
LaCorn is a guy who last week, 8 catches, 109 yards, was actually a high school teammate of the number 3 quarterback for Florida right now, John Brantley, at Trinity Catholic in Ocala, Florida. Played on a state championship together there 2 years ago.
You tried the rugby punt again? Blew up in your face the last time.
Just kick the ball.
And that's what they do. James with that gaudy 20-plus average this time. Can't corral it, and the ball will go all the way down to the 6. A 54-yard kick. A much better result for Suckup than the last time when he had it stuffed off his kicking foot. Here's the SEC East. Both Georgia and Tennessee won today. The only way Florida is going to get to the SEC championship game is for both Georgia and Tennessee to lose. It's got to be a 3-way tie for the Gators to have the tiebreaker. And Georgia had a great win against Auburn. Gators start from the 6. James, look at the speed of this kid. Across the 10, 15, 20-yard line. Brandon James at 5'6", 181 pounds. The assistant coaches begged that he be given a scholarship, and boy, does he pay off.
Yeah, that little stop and go got him outside the defensive perimeter. You don't ever want your defense to lose leverage, and that time that little inside fake by Brandon James drew the defense in with him, and he was able to step outside the leverage.
James getting a lot more playing time tonight because of Percy Harvin's inability to make the trip. Sinus infection and migraines. And now back to Keyston Moore. And Moore across the 20 to the 25. Eric Norwood makes the tackle. Norwood, a rising star for South Carolina. Number 40 from his defensive end spot. He was a freshman All-American a year ago. And just one of those guys who could play linebacker, defensive end. 16 tackles behind the line of scrimmage.
He makes plays, and he's been a little bit quiet on the sacks. The last 3 games, he hasn't been able to get to a quarterback. But he's a guy who plays with great energy, great enthusiasm every play.
Tebow gives up this time. The ball is loose, and it looked like South Carolina has it, and they do. Boy made the recovery.
Jarrett Faison in at running back on this play. Again, new guys taking the place of Percy Harvin. Jarrett Faison is in at the running back. It's a read play. It's a mesh point right here between Tebow and Faison. And just a little bit of a miscommunication in the helmet right on the football by Ajibon.
That handoff was more on his hip than it was in his stomach. And Todd, that's the quarterback's responsibility.
Quarterback's got to put it in the stomach. The running back's got to close down over top of it. And a bad exchange between the two.
Big break for South Carolina, and Mitchell goes right to work, throws to the corner. What a catch! LaCorn went airborne, laid out and grabbed it. Now Mitchell's even getting some help from his wideouts.
He's getting help from his wideouts, and he's getting good pass protection. South Carolina is going with a lot of 2 tight ends. They're going 2 or 3 receiver routes to increase the protection, and that was a beautiful route on the corner by LaCorn.
And they're up the line of scrimmage. They want this ball snapped so there won't be a review of that one. Boyd powers his way. Touchdown.
What an answer.
Well, if nothing else, these guys are resilient. They seem to bounce back all the time. Not used to playing in that role.
And not used to being hit when they get the ball. It's one thing to do it in practice and get the mesh and the timing. It's a different thing to do it and have somebody stick you right at the point of attack as well.
Suck up for the point after.
This touchdown run is all Corey Boyd. He had some linemen in front of him. Jamon Meredith, number 77, is going to get a good block. Stafford, the fullback, but Boyd just powers his way through a couple defenders into the end zone. The big play, the catch by LaCorn. What a beautiful effort on the outstretch. We can't get kicks blocked, and we can't do that kind of stuff.
Well, they gave the Gators 2 touchdowns, and this is the respect for the kicking game as they go with the pooch kick. They want to keep the ball away from Brandon James.
It's crazy. I mean, an unranked team's beaten a top 5 team 8 times this year. Let's make that 9 times now.
Tebow. And here's something you thought you would never hear somebody say on television. What a game next week. Notre Dame in 2.
You've been wanting to say it.
I have. I mean, it's amazing that that game means anything. Well, all at once, old Mo has shifted to the Gamecocks of South Carolina.
A lot of substitutions now for Tyrone Nix's defense, trying to keep some fresh legs, some fresh bodies in the game. Looks like a 2-man rush again. Only 2 down linemen. They're going to drop a bunch.
Got 7 defensive backs in there. Tebow having trouble finding anybody. Finally unloads and completes it. And got it to Bubba Caldwell. The one thing 7 DBs does, he gives you a lot of speed out there. So if Tebow takes off, you've got some people that can chase him down.
It's 7 DBs, you got 2 linebackers, you got 2 defensive linemen, and Tim Tebow did what he had to do, which is you gotta be patient, and if you have to dump it underneath, you dump it underneath, and then you come up with 3rd down and a very manageable 4 yards needed. Don't get impatient, don't get greedy when they drop that many guys in coverage. Here, same look again with the 2 down linemen.
2 guys rush against 5, and still Tebow finds Caldwell for a 1st down. I think it says something else, Todd. It says something about Florida's lack of a traditional running game.
Yeah.
When you have 2 down linemen and you see that, and you still don't line up with a tailback back there to run.
Well, part of it is because of their personnel with the extra wide receivers that enables South Carolina to line up with that many defensive backs. But you're right, they don't have the traditional I formation kind of pound you type football approach that some teams still have.
Tebow fakes it to Moore on the option, straight down the middle, and incomplete, almost caught by Riley Cooper. But outstanding coverage. Jared Sinclair, one of the linebackers, was running with him, and Stoney Woodson was back there.
Yeah, play action, good protection for Tebow. The 2nd time they've taken a shot down the field. I mean, he has made some big plays throwing the football down the field this season.
That was a catchable ball, though. Cooper playing with a broken finger. That may have influenced his ability to grab that ball. 2nd and long. Tebow, quarterback draw. And Tebow picks up 10.
And there's that run. That's their style of how to attack that kind of a defense. Quarterback run. They don't have the power runner, except their quarterback's a power runner.
And LSU will be right back in the #1 spot.
a month later.
Yeah, unbelievable. Tebow on first down with the keeper down to the 25-yard line. Looks like he has another first down. Stoney Woodson had to make the tackle from his safety spot.
You just get the feeling like this is going to be one of those games where they're going to lean on Tim Tebow, similar to what they did at Ole Miss a few weeks ago, earlier in the season when he carried the ball 26 times. I don't think he'll carry it 26 tonight. 25.
27.
27.
I'm sorry.
Somewhere in there. I didn't read the hand signal.
No, I'm trying to help, and I messed you up. 166 yards in that game. But the problem is they said, well, we may have overdone it in that game because he's going to get hurt that way. Complete pass. That'll be another first down to the 14-yard line. Lewis Murphy gang tackled there. His second catch of the night.
Well, whether it's 25, 26, 27, there's no mistake that he is the major force in their offense this season. 71.3%. Throwing, running, he averages 314 yards a game of total offense coming into tonight, which is tops in the SEC. And he's just a sophomore in his first year as a starter.
When we're showing you pie charts, we're cooking. Because pie is our friend. Tebow under pressure. Little shovel pass. Face on inside the 10-yard line. Good tackle by Emmanuel Cook.
You know, the thing about Tim Tebow is he's so strong. You know, when an elusive quarterback runs, you worry about him making a guy miss. You know, and how do you spy on a guy that can make you miss? With Tebow, you worry about tackling a guy that can run over you. I mean, you might have a guy there to make a play, but there's no guarantee that he's not going to plant you right into the turf on his way to the end zone.
Face on in the backfield. He'll get the ball inside the 5. Travian Robertson made the tackle. That's a big kid.
Yeah.
That's a Todd Blackledge kind of body.
Oh, that is not. No, that's not. Sherry Blackledge probably wishes that was a Todd Blackledge body, but it's not. No, he is a big, strong, physical guy. 6'3", 235 pounds.
And for that big, he can run.
Yes,
he's got
he can.
speed. First and goal, Gators. They mark it all the way down to the 1. This is another area where Tebow is so dangerous with that power. Fumbles the snap, got it back at the 10. Reverses his field under pressure, throws the end zone.
Oh, boy.
There was a pass that he should not have thrown, at least not there. I thought he was just going to throw it through the goalpost and get rid of it.
Yeah, he got lucky here. The ball wasn't that bad of a snap, but he took his eye off it momentarily, and then trying to force a play, the left-handed quarterback doesn't get enough on it. And very lucky that one didn't get intercepted. You just don't see Tim Tebow make that many mistakes like that.
There wasn't anything right about that.
No.
He's throwing off his back foot, falling down, throwing it back against the grain, and Spurrier is just shaking his head.
Well, that's because he just told us, he told us on Friday, he says, we just haven't been able to come up with any loose balls. I mean, there's been fumbles and stuff, we can't get them.
Quarterback keeper, got it.
And that's what happens. I mean, how often does that happen where you don't make the play when you have a chance and you give a team a second chance and they capitalize on it?
Good lead block by Keyston Moore, his tailback. Ehas for the point after he's missed one. That was the difference in the score. And it's Gators 20, South Carolina 14. What a half of football, and we still have 12 and a half minutes to go.
First of all, Eric Rutledge and then Keyston Moore. And Tim Tebow's just going to take it to the corner of the end zone. Now, as Tebow gets to the corner of the end zone, I want you to keep your eye on something else. Look over here. Our cart camera driver, Ryan Rodriguez, just goes for a complete tumble after the hit by Tebow. Says he's okay. Boy, he took a shot.
Yes, he did. Tebow with a head of steam at 235. That's a mismatch. Chris Culliver deep. Got some room. Out to the 39-yard line, and Holly Rowe has a special guest.
Okay, Ryan, what did that feel like to get hit by Tim Tebow?
I just got T-boned by Tebow. I mean, that's all I can say. He knocked the wind right out of me.
In the future, would you consider wearing a seatbelt if you're going to have to cover Tebow?
It's probably not a bad idea. I've considered it in the past. I would like a harness.
Are you injured? I see some dirt on the pants. Are you injured?
He knocked my funny bone out.
Not so much.
Well, if you're going to get hit, the funny bone is the place.
Yeah.
The rest of the crew is really enjoying this since it was nothing serious. Mitchell throws this away.
Look at Steve Spurrier. He is so hot on the sideline. You know, Steve thinks every play that he calls should work. I mean, and you know, he's a very confident play caller. He sees things so quickly, and he was jumping up and down at the end of that play because Blake Mitchell ended up having to throw it away. So either somebody was in the right spot or the wrong spot, or the quarterback's eyes were in the wrong spot. But for some reason, and it looks like Jared Cook may have been the culprit, Steve Spurrier was not happy.
One of the few guys who could do it as a quarterback and is a great teacher to show other people how to do it. Mitchell, and just overthrown. Saunders was open, and Mitchell missed him by that much.
Saunders was in to replace Jared Cook, who's a faster, more fluid athlete. Saunders is a bigger guy, 6'5", 275 pounds, a true freshman out of Durham, North Carolina, not able to get his body around and make that catch.
He makes noise going downfield. Cook back in. 3rd and 10 for South Carolina. Mitchell under center. Blitz coming. They pick it up. Mitchell throws, intercepted. Picked off by Joyner. Joyner sat on that route. He knew what was coming, made the pick, and brought it back 12 yards.
Well, he knew where they wanted to go with the football, and that was to McKinley. They wanted to get the ball to their top guy, and Joyner was able to kind of just read this. Now, they kind of baited him because Joyner's right here. Now, he's going to drop back at the snap and get right underneath the route. So, in essence, they're going to double cover Kenny McKinley with an inside out, a linebacker running under, and Joyner over the top, and he was able to come away with the interception. Well, they guessed right there, thinking Blake Mitchell on 3rd down. Who's he going to go to? McKinley, and they were in the right spot.
And Joyner was shaken up after the play. That is the 3rd South Carolina turnover of the first half. The first 2 resulted in touchdowns. Wide open, Caldwell down to the 23-yard line before he goes out of bounds. So Tebow goes right to work on the South Carolina secondary.
So much talk about Tim Tebow. We know he can run. We know he's powerful. How will he throw this year as a first-year starting quarterback? Not every pass is pretty, but I'll tell you what, he's completing almost 70% of his passes. He leads the nation in efficiency. He makes good decisions where to go with the football. He doesn't hold the ball too long. He may not have the prettiest release, the prettiest delivery, throw the tightest spiral all the time, but he gets the ball where it's supposed to be.
South Carolina comes with a blitz. Tebow counters with a run. Just stiff arms his way down near the 10-yard line. Carlton Metter with a good lead block from the right tackle spot. Here's Reese. That's not possible, is it?
I don't think.
Well, this year.
Yeah.
Appalachian State at Michigan wasn't possible either. Tebow gives this one off to Faison. Faison inside the 10 to about the 9. Emmanuel Cook up from the secondary. In case you joined us late, Captain Munnerlyn re-aggravated a foot injury. He's gone for South Carolina. Maurice Pouncey injured, an offensive lineman from Florida.
And one of the results of that for South Carolina, Addison Williams in the game, a true freshman out of Atlanta, Georgia, number 7, having to play a lot of single coverage. Here he is up here right now at the top of the screen.
Need to get to the 1-yard line for a first down. Tebow on the quarterback draw. Got to the 4, maybe a step inside it. Tebow taking a lot of hits here in the first half.
Yeah, he obviously is 100% healthy because he is getting a lot of shots. You take a look at what Florida has done inside the 20. That 40 touchdowns is really good. I mean,
and that's Tebow.
Yeah, it's one thing to get in there, and it's another thing to get down there and capitalize with touchdowns most of the time, and that's what they've done. You're right. His ability to run and how powerfully he can run it gives him a great goal line short yardage offense.
Third down from the 4. The Sticks are at the 1. And now Tebow will use the timeout. And here is tonight's trivia question. Who has the single-season record for the most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in the FBS? And, of course, we all know that's formerly Division 1A. That's FBS, not FBI. Formerly Division 1A. Tebow was 16 this year. That's a Florida record. Tebow fakes, keeps, touchdown.
17, you mean.
Too easy. Yes, I do. When you walk in, it's too easy. Well, if Tebow's got the ball, I swear to you, Todd, I never look at the fake. You got to respect him. He's the most dangerous guy out there.
Well, you do. And watch Eric Rutledge here. Watch the block he gets. Right there on the defensive end. Opens it right up for Tebow. Stays right on it. And Eric Rutledge is one of those guys, never gets to carry the ball. Occasionally they'll throw him a pass, but for the most part, he's a blocker. That's it. And he does it pretty well there. You don't have to run the spread, but you better have a quarterback that can do both run and throw.
But how many of those guys are there? We take a look at the Whites and the Tebows and the Dixons, but there are a lot of guys out there that run a little, throw a little, but not much. All right, I got a question for you about that in a second. Boyd straight up in the middle. He'll get a few. It's always early until it's later.
We just saw that highlight of Sam Bradford. We've been saying tonight Tim Tebow leads the nation in pass efficiency. Sam Bradford is number 2 in that category. Another first-time starter, redshirt freshman from Oklahoma, having a big-time year.
You talk about the evolution of college quarterbacks. This is eventually going to hurt the NFL, which is starving for quarterbacks anyway.
Yes, although, you know, there have been guys in the, I don't mean guys necessarily in the Michael Vick model as much as a guy like in the Steve Young model. You know, Steve Young was a guy who could run and could create plays, but was a great thrower. I mean, there'll still be some of those guys that can move to the NFL, but in college football, I think you don't have to be the great thrower, but if you're a great runner and a good thrower, you can win.
3rd and 3, 4-man rush, good protection for Mitchell. Throws underneath. That ball may have been tipped. It was incomplete, intended for Boyd coming out of the backfield.
Brandon Spikes, the linebacker, was in coverage that time. Might have got a hand on it.
Got number 15 against South Carolina, a team that was number 6 in the country only 3 weeks ago. Florida still has designs on having a shot at the SEC East. And they are lining up to go for it, and they've got the Gators with an extra man on the field. If they had snapped the ball early, they could have gotten a penalty. They may get a penalty with Brandon Spikes jumping into the neutral zone anyway.
Well, Jamon Meredith, number 77, is the guy that moves for South Carolina. Now, Jamon Meredith did move, but I think he was moving because Brandon Spikes went in the neutral zone first. Watch right here in the middle. The neutral zone's going to get crossed, and Jamon Meredith, who is right here, is going to move, but he moves in reaction to Brandon Spikes crossing the neutral zone.
If the defensive player gets in the neutral zone and causes the offense to move, it's a penalty on the defense.
Yeah.
But I think the reason they didn't call that is he was not directly opposite Meredith.
You're right.
He was a
not.
player off, and they're going to say Meredith has no reason to move because of that. That's why it's on offense. So they have to punt, and James will have a chance to return one. Although not much of a chance, and he's taken down. Excellent play, Darian Stewart, and there is a penalty flag down on top of it. So the little guy who averages 20 yards a return loses 3, and where the penalty is thrown, they may be penalized half the distance on top of it. Looked like a block in the back right at the end of it.
I didn't see a face mask.
I didn't either.
I did see a couple of blocks that looked like blocks in the back. Did he say on number 35?
He said 35.
Right there. Okay, it wasn't 35, it was 32, but there was a little bit of a grab on the corner of the face mask. All right, missed that. Darian Stewart.
So the Gators set up shop just shy of their own 20. Tebow again with time down the sideline. Caldwell will make the catch out near midfield. The answer to tonight's trivia question, who has the single season record for most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in what was Division 1A? Do you know?
I did not know.
I didn't either. Chance Harridge, Air Force. 2002, he had 22 of them.
Makes sense. Air Force, big triple option team. Chance Harridge, one of the several excellent running quarterbacks that they've had at Air Force.
And Air Force with a big win over Notre Dame, back-to-back Service Academy victories. Tebow unloads, incomplete. It looked like it hit the helmet of Murphy, and there's a flag down. Carlos Thomas was man for man with him.
Boy, I like the attack from Dan Mullen, the offensive coordinator, though. I mean, he is just saying, you know what? These corners, they've had a couple injuries. They've got a couple different guys in there. Let's just go at them with our speed. Our quarterback is accurate. They're not getting pressure on him. Let's take our shots down the field.
And Thomas looks like he's hurt.
There's the grab, both hands on Lewis Murphy.
Yeah.
And you got to call that. I mean, and they are just kind of, that play shows what South Carolina's defense, they're just hanging on right now because Tebow has got his foot on the gas.
Fortunately in college football, fortunately for South Carolina, it is not a spot foul. So they take it back to the line of scrimmage and mark it off. And that puts them at the 36-yard line instead of inside the 5. Tebow's going to hand this one off to Moore. And the Gator traditional running game just isn't that impressive. Emmanuel Cook up from the secondary.
It's not, but their numbers are good. I mean, they come into the game averaging 189 yards a game rushing, which is really a good number for them. The best since Urban Meyer has been there. And again, a big part of that is Tebow, their leading rusher. And another big part has been Percy Harvin, who is not here tonight, but he's been a big factor in their running game.
So they have done it the untraditional way.
And the only problem with that is the wear and tear that it puts on Tim Tebow and Percy Harvin. That's the thing that you get concerned about when you have to run the football that way.
Especially since Harvin's not a big guy at 5'11", less than 190. Probably, if the truth be told, a lot less than 190.
Infraction on the defense. 12 players on the field. 5-yard penalty. Remain second down.
Check in with Holly Rowe. Holly?
Well, guys, and you really have to credit this Florida offensive line. They had 3 returning starters coming back, but 2 of them aren't playing this season because of injury and suspension. And Drew Miller was a guard last year. He's moved over to center. So this is a pretty young, inexperienced line, but they've really come together and had a pretty good season for Florida.
Yeah, that's right. Phil Troutwine, their starting left tackle, one of their captains, hasn't played at all. A stress fracture in his foot in August.
Tebow out of bounds at the 15. On runs like that, he just seems to glide. He is so effortless.
they really have the South Carolina defense on their heels right now. The misdirection gets the linebackers flowing one way. He's coming out the backside. Sometimes it's a designed run. Sometimes he's reading that. If the defensive end crashes on that zone play, he's going to pull the ball out and keep it and run.
First down, Gators already up by 13 and driving for more. Tebow, this little option, a shovel pass, got it to James. James lost the ball. And it looked like South Carolina got it back. Hampton knocked it loose, and South Carolina did get the ball, which is the bane of what their defense had done this year. A lot of fumbles, they couldn't get any back.
Right, they forced them and couldn't recover them. That was the problem in the loss to Tennessee. Well, they haven't been able to stop the Florida offense, but they get a stop here. They forced the ball out of Brandon James. Chris Hampton with a nice tackle. And South Carolina comes away with the football.
Now that's huge because it's a fumble inside the 10.
Yep.
Great hit by Hampton to shake it loose. And then it looked like Darian Stewart pounced on it, although it may have come loose from him. And they're still down there working on one of the Gators, and they've got Tebow's on a knee, and he's looking at another lineman who's hurt. It looks like Drew Miller, the center, the young man that Holly just talked about, the senior. The South Carolina defense carried this team for the first half of the season, but in the last 5.5 quarters, they have allowed 912 yards and 11 touchdowns. They are just being gutted. Last week by Arkansas, and now by Florida. Corey Boyd gets a carry.
Well, the best thing that could happen for South Carolina is if that defense can go right from the sideline into the locker room with 6 minutes and 30 seconds and counting in the first half. Blake Mitchell and this offense, they need to get a drive put together here. Let their defense rest, score if they can, but more importantly, not put the defense back onto the field.
Second and 10, Boyd's the tailback. Mitchell from the end zone. Boyd made the catch on the tip. Spike's got a hand on it, tipped it straight up in the air. Great concentration by Corey Boyd. The last time they ran that exact same pattern, Spike's tipped it that time.
Yeah, the last time he tipped it down, this time he tipped it up, and Boyd alertly stayed right with it. Pretty good job by Blake Mitchell getting out of the pocket, trying to make something happen. And Boyd, with great concentration down the field, gets a first down.
So fresh set of downs from the 26-yard line. A chance to work on that clock a little more. Mitchell underneath, and that's Andy Boyd, the tight end who is in his 6th year. This kid wanted to play football so badly. He has undergone 2 major knee surgeries and a major shoulder surgery. He just wants to play. That was his 8th catch of the year. In the first 5 years, he had caught 4. Way to hang in there, Andy Boyd. The running back Boyd on the toss, and Corey's out across the 35. 13-7 over La Tech.
We showed you that graphic of the top 2 teams being beat, but I mean, now this season has been so crazy. It's now 6 of the last 7 weeks that a team ranked in the top 3 has been beaten. Okay, last week it was BC that got beat by Florida State. Now this week Ohio State got beat, and Kansas, in a dogfight. I mean, of all the top teams, the top 5 teams, the only one playing on the road today is Kansas at Oklahoma State, which is a very difficult place to go play.
And Oklahoma State is a team that can put points on the board. That's what South Carolina would like to do here in the closing minutes of the half. Little flanker screen trying to get McKinley involved again. He has been quiet lately. Anderson made the tackle for the Florida Gators.
The guy I think that they can find for some plays is going to be Jared Cook. I think that Florida is going to continue to pay a lot of attention to Kenny McKinley. Double cover him if they can. Jared Cook, with his size and the speed to go with it, I think will find some good matchups against this Florida defense.
Both of those kids, Georgia high school players.
Here's a look to the sideline. Little change by Spurrier on the sideline after he sees the defense.
3.5 minutes to go, first half. Boyd on the delay. Nothing doing. Good tackle by Spikes.
Brandon Spikes has really stepped up his game. You know, he was very disappointed with how he played in the Georgia game. A very frustrating loss for all the Florida Gators. He's talked to the team, said that he would never let his team down like that again. He came back and had 14 tackles last week in the win against Vanderbilt. And he's a guy that is starting to get it. A sophomore with a lot of talent, starting to understand what it takes day in and day out to be a leader.
And he studied very hard, trying to make sure he knows everybody's role on defense. Spikes apparently was the guy who got a hand on that one and blocked it. So he's active everywhere.
Yep. Well, they had such a great middle linebacker last year in Brandon Seiler, who was not only a great player, but a tremendous leader, the kind of the heart and soul of that defense. Earl Everett was another big-time leader at linebacker. And they've got all new guys this year starting. And Brandon Spikes is realizing, you know, you don't just become a leader by stepping into the middle linebacker position. You've got to play at a certain level and be consistent at a certain level as well.
Suckup, who is a great two-way kicker. There's that rugby approach again that so many teams like to use. And James will let it go, and it goes out of bounds to the 18-yard line. Good job, 42-yard kick. And you keep it away from the dangerous return man.
Line next to you.
Tebow throws underneath and again complete to Andre Caldwell, his 6th grab of the night. Caldwell missed a couple of games early. Tennessee and Ole Miss with a sprained knee.
That's now 25 catches in the last 4 games, or 3.5 games actually. And he's a big-time playmaker.
Yep.
We talk about Percy Harvin. Well, a healthy Andre Caldwell gives them multiple options. And then you've got Cornelius Ingram, who's been a little bit banged up with an ankle, has not really been a factor tonight. But he's a big inside target. Riley Cooper, a big, tall receiver who's been bothered by some injuries, coming off a broken finger and ankle injury earlier this year. I mean, they've got some weapons on this offense at Tim Tebow's disposal.
Something they have never lacked for at Florida is wide receivers and quarterbacks.
The one area that they don't really have is, and Urban Meyer says he wishes they had more of, is just kind of that stable of running backs. You know, they don't have a lot of depth at running back. That's why you see them having to put guys like Brandon James, who's, you know, is a good return man, but maybe isn't a guy who's going to be able to slam it in there and carry the football a bunch of times. You can run a few plays with him and get him in there on a couple situations. Jared Faison is a receiver playing running back at times.
Well, there were all sorts of rumors that C.J. Spiller was going to transfer there, and then the kid from Southern California is transferring.
Moody's there right now, sitting out this year.
2nd and inches for Tebow. Clock running. We approach 2 minutes. Quarterback keeper. Not this time.
He lost yardage on that one. Tried to get a little too fancy. That's not like Tim Tebow to try to dance and make people miss. Not able to stick it in there for the first down.
He outweighs every linebacker on this roster. Not to mention the guys in the secondary.
I bet he doesn't dance on this one.
Looking to Urban Meyer on the sideline and calling the play for his lineman. Tebow on the option. First down and more. James.
Mark Richt at Georgia. A couple weeks ago, he ordered his team to go celebrate and get the penalty. This week, he unveiled the black jerseys, a big surprise in the locker room. Coming out of his shell a little bit.
Tebow floats it down the middle and caught.
That's Ingram. Out they're
saying incomplete. Ingram had the ball as he hit the ground, and then it came loose.
What Tebow has just been right on it throwing the football. I mean, every throw. Now the protection's been outstanding, but he just has thrown every ball except that one where he tried to scramble and throw it into the middle of the end zone. Every throw where he's been out of the pocket or in the pocket throwing has been right on target. Ingram just not able to grab that one cleanly.
And if you're a receiver and you're hurt, you're not going to be as smooth as you normally are. But most of the time, he'll make that catch. Tebow again, they run a blitz, but they pick it up. Throws underneath to Murphy. There is a penalty marker down as Murphy reaches midfield with 59 seconds to go on the clock.
Florida has 2 timeouts left, so they don't have to be in a panic mode. The 5-yard penalty against the Gators will back them up.
Urban Meyer's had such remarkable success. 2 years at Bowling Green, 2 years at Utah, and now in his 3rd year at Florida. One of the fathers of the spread offense. There are several, because there are several different variations. But his version has certainly worked for him, hasn't it?
Yep, sure has.
First flag against the Gators tonight cost them 5. Tebow with great protection again. Throws underneath, and there's the tight end, Ingram. And they stop the clock with 41 seconds to go.
Well, what has Tim Tebow done tonight? He's come into the game healthy. He's run the football. He's thrown it. Been very accurate throwing the football. He's run for, 3 touchdowns tonight, thrown for 1. He looks like his healthy self. And when he's healthy and when he's carrying the football, he is a load. I mean, he's a tough guy. And Urban Meyer just loves his competitiveness, his fire. Great work ethic in the weight room, on the practice field, in the conditioning program.
3rd and 3. 4-man rush as they just try to keep him in the pocket. And this one is picked off.
Well, that's just
Stoney Woodson. I don't think he ever saw the ball. I think he turned around and hit him right in the chest.
I think that's just a case of Stoney Woodson just not giving up on the play, because I thought this was a catch to Jared Faison. I thought it was a good throw, and I thought Faison, number 11, was going to come down with the catch. He's working on Woodson. The ball's thrown. Woodson doesn't know where the ball is, and he just fought more than Faison did for the football.
What a play.
Yeah, great reaction and fight for the football.
Stoney Woodson, a guy they really missed when he was out with a hamstring. They had counted on him to be the free safety, and that's why. He's a kid who can make plays. And now South Carolina, with only 22 seconds on the clock, they're going to be content to go to the locker room.
Hey, that was a big stop right there. I mean, to keep Florida from getting anything more on the scoreboard, your offense is still able to move the football. You're down 2 touchdowns. And for a Steve Spurrier offense, that's not that much.
Still weird or emotional for you to coach against Florida? He said, not particularly. I'm more worried about my own guys getting out in there and just trying to make some first downs.
Gotta love his honesty, Holly. You ask him, are you any better than you were when you started the year? Teams are supposed to get better. And he said, nah, not really, about where we were before. There's a little trick play, the toss to Corey Boyd. Boyd gets up to the 45-yard line. Jared Cook made the catch and then lateraled to Boyd. And they'll stop the clock momentarily with 3 seconds to go.
You got time for one more shot. You maybe run a little Hail Mary here or spike the ball and then go call a play. But you got time for one more play down the field.
And Mark ready for play and kill it.
I don't know that Blake Mitchell has the arm to get this ball all the way to the end zone from here. But if they want to take some kind of a shot.
And interference or something like that doesn't help you so much, because it would only be You know, the maximum penalty you're going to get is 15 yards on something. And Tommy Beecher has checked in. That answers your question about the arm. Beecher, the 6'1", 220-pound sophomore, going to get a running start, unloads. Incomplete. And that will end the first half. And what a first half it was. Turnovers, mistakes, a lot of yards and a lot of points. 27-14. We'll check in with Holly.
Coach Spurrier, what do you like about the way your team fought back after those early turnovers?
Well, I don't know how much fighting back we're doing. Our offense hadn't done much, and we've got some turnovers that's kept us sort of in the game. But offensively, we got to play a lot better if we're going to have a chance.
What about the defense stopping Tim Tebow? What can they do?
Got some turnovers. Hopefully, we'll force a punt or two before it's all over. But we got to stay on the field offensively. We're not playing very well.
Bunched up as South Carolina shows an odd kickoff formation. Now they'll kick it away.
They've done that all night. That's been their way of keeping it away from Brandon James. A bunched up kickoff and different kicks. What about Tebow tonight? Well, he's healthy, and that means he can run. They've taken the wraps off him tonight. He was the leading rusher in the first half, 79 yards and 3 touchdowns, also threw a touchdown. And now for this season, which is not even over, he has accounted for 39 touchdowns in his first year as a starting quarterback at Florida. You ask, why is he one of the Heisman top 1 or 2 guys? That's why.
233 yards in total offense. He is approaching 2,500 yards in passing and 600 yards in rushing. Or 700 yards in rushing, that would be. No pressure on Tebow, and throws this one complete. Got it to his tight end, Aaron Hernandez. And Hernandez still on his feet all the way down to the 25-yard line. 6'1", 256 pounds, and he rambles for 55 yards.
And he's one that's got to be a particular favorite of the family and networks out of Bristol, Connecticut. But you mentioned it, no pressure on Tebow, able to stand there, scan the field, and then throw the ball down the field, and then poor tackling. Part of what was their problem last week against Arkansas. First play of the third quarter, bad tackling again, and Hernandez turns in a big play.
The South Carolina defense was so good earlier in the year. They literally carried this club as they were trying to find their offense. Now that the offense has gotten started, the defense has really fallen flat. James, and they'll whistle the play dead.
I don't think they got the play off before the 25-second clock ran out. You saw Tim Tebow trying to hurry the snap there. You know, it's amazing about this South Carolina defense.
Delay of game, number 15. Offense, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Is they were able to kind of hold their own up until last week. And they did it without a couple key guys. Nathan Pepper, a starting defensive end, was injured in the South Carolina State game. Their best player, middle linebacker Jasper Brinkley, hurt his knee in the LSU game. Jordan Lindsay was a starting defensive end, has been out all year because of academics. But despite those losses, they did hold their own pretty well until last week in Fayetteville.
1st and 15, little shovel pass to James. Nobody lays a hand on him until he's at the 15, and the little guy all the way down to the 5-yard line. 26 yards for Brandon James out of St. Augustine, Florida.
Well, this is a read. It's kind of like an option. They're going to read this guy as he comes across. Tim Tebow's going to read him on the shovel pass. If he crashes on Brandon James, Tim Tebow will keep the football and run the option outside. Emmanuel Cook came up the field at the quarterback. That told Tebow to pitch it underneath, and they got a big play.
Another 1st and goal for the Gators. Tebow. He very rarely gives it to anybody down there in this situation. Here's Holly.
Well, guys, speaking to Urban Meyer at the half, I asked him about his biggest concern, and he said, it's the red zone. We have got to quit screwing around when we get into the red zone. 2 turnovers. He said, when we get in there, we have to score. He also is concerned about South Carolina coming out and throwing the ball. He said their quarterback is very streaky. They're worried they're going to come out and throw it all over the place in the second half.
And Holly, for some reason, he has always had great games against Florida, has Blake Mitchell. Tebow just seems to have a great game against everybody.
Well, if he doesn't want to fool around the red zone, I think that's 15 running it right here.
And it is. Touchdown.
They just don't have an answer. I mean,
they don't even know the question.
Gets the big play down the field. They run the shovel pass to James. He runs it a couple times. South Carolina's defense just clueless against his
nails it. Tebow and Hernandez celebrate. Hernandez had the big play. Tebow got the touchdown.
And Dan Mullen told us this week, he said, Chip Kelly actually helped me get my first job.
Yeah.
I was looking for a job, and he had been at Johns Hopkins and was going back to New Hampshire and called the guys at Wagner College, and they, talked them into giving me a chance to come on and coach. And so both those guys are from Manchester, New Hampshire, and both doing a great job as offensive coordinators running a version of the spread offense this year.
Big-time offenses at big-time programs. Boyd across the 30 to about the 31, another 4 yards for Corey Boyd, who has not been that much of a factor tonight because Blake Mitchell came out throwing, and right now down by 3 touchdowns. Pretty tough to try to run the ball all the time.
Well, you're not so worried about possessing the football and eating up clock. You've got to score points. I mean, you don't want to take Corey Boyd out of your game plan. And again, coming into tonight, 32 catches, so he's valuable in the pass game as well. You need to catch up on the scoreboard too.
Boyd on the toss will cut it back up the middle. About 1.5 yards shy of a first down, and Jermaine Cunningham, number 3 on this team in tackles, makes the stop. He's a defensive end. It's highly unusual to have one of your down linemen be one of your top 3 tacklers. He's very active.
He had a career-high 17 tackles against LSU in a big game earlier this year. Had an interception last week in the win over Vanderbilt.
Third down, obviously, for South Carolina. They have to take advantage every time they touch the ball. And Mitchell, quarterback keeper. And look at Blake Mitchell burst out of there. Everybody quit except Mitchell.
He says, hey, Timmy Tebow, let's see what I can do. Not used to seeing Blake Mitchell run the ball, but you're right. He just kind of put his nose in there, and nobody tackled him, so he squirted out the outside and turned in a pretty good game.
I'm not going to confuse him with Tim Tebow right away.
No.
But he got it, and that's all that counts. Gets a nice hand from the fans here at Williams-Brice,
who haven't had a lot to cheer about. Blitz coming. Boyd, nice job helping to pick it up.
And the pass is dropped, and that was by Jared Cook. And Cook doesn't like the extra pushing and shoving and goes out there and may have retaliated and gets a flag.
Yeah, he got away with the first push, and when he went back and shoved him again the second time, I think that's when the flag came out.
Dustin Doe, the linebacker, was out there with him.
I mean, he was frustrated because he dropped the football first and foremost. I mean, he should have caught the football. Now, the question is, do they call it both ways, offsetting penalties? I thought Jared Cook was going to get it on his second retaliation.
After the play, we have offsetting personal fouls. Number 30, 32, White, number 84. Against South Carolina, those penalties offset. Second out.
I don't like that offsetting penalty stuff.
See, here's the drop, okay? And he's frustrated right now because he dropped the ball. Now, there's one shove, and here's a retaliation. Now, right now, there's no penalty. Now, the second one is when the flag came out. That's why I thought it was going to go against South Carolina.
Well, he got 2 shots for 1, so he won the individual battle and got bailed out on the penalties that canceled each other.
Got to keep your cool.
Mitchell under pressure. Had this one blocked. It looked like Derrick Harvey, 91, got a hand up and got a piece of it. South Carolina shot itself in the foot twice early. Try the rugby kick, and it's blocked. And that led to 13 points. And Tebow What a game already. 318 yards. He's accounted for 5 touchdowns, 4 of them rushing, which is a career high.
Three-man rush this time. Mitchell still flushed. Going to keep it and got out of bounds.
Well, just little things right now South Carolina can't afford, like the drop by Jared Cook on first down. They can't afford those kind of miscues anymore. If they want to stay in this game, and right now at 20 points, they're right on the brink of not being in this game. If they want to stay in it, they've got to make those plays. And now they're faced with a 4th down play where they feel like they need to go for it.
And this is not 4th and short either. This is a 4th and 6.
They're going to look to get the ball to McKinley. He's right here in the slot.
Big gamble by Steve Spurrier. This is one he's got to make. And they get it to Boyd.
Nice.
Boyd across the 30, fumbled the ball. South Carolina got it back.
Holy cow. Major Wright knocked it away. And Corey Boyd very, very fortunate.
Well, Corey Boyd was the only back in the backfield working on the linebacker, Brandon Spikes, out of the backfield. We mentioned he's a good receiver. 32 catches. Watch him work on Spikes. A little in route. Shakes him, freezes him, and Blake Mitchell hits him right in the middle of the field. And that shows you the versatility of Corey Boyd. Not just a powerful runner, but an excellent receiver out of the backfield.
So South Carolina stays alive. Big gamble by Steve Spurrier pays off with 10 minutes and 11 seconds
to go here in the 3rd quarter. He doesn't mind taking chances. He never has.
Mitchell throws and completes it to his favorite receiver, McKinley. Got a block from Freddie Brown, has another first down.
And that was the first time we've seen that play tonight. Last year in the game in Gainesville, that was a big play for South Carolina, throwing that quick screen, that right away throw the ball out there to Sidney Rice. He had 3 or 4 catches in the game last year on that very same play. First time we've seen it tonight. They get the ball quickly to McKinley.
And maybe that's a good way to get it to McKinley, who's been covered very well tonight by the Gators.
They have given him a lot of attention and held his numbers down. Mitchell under pressure, throws to the end zone, too far, incomplete.
That was intended for Brown. Let's go to Holly Rowe.
Guys, Corey Boyd of South Carolina was shaken up on that play where he fumbled it and got it back. He is holding his arm. He's been over here on the sideline talking to their trainer, Bill Martin. Right now, he's just holding it tightly against his body. Doesn't look like he's coming in anytime soon, guys. I'll try to keep you posted.
That would mean Mike Davis, Holly, will take over his spot in the backfield. Davis, a much different kind of runner, 5'9", 215. Tremendous leg strength. For the end zone, and Cook threw it into coverage, and again, tipped by Brandon Spikes. That's about 4 of those tonight.
Well, Florida showed blitz, and they tried to draw the audible for a blitz coverage, and then they flew out into zone, and Brandon Spikes was running underneath Jared Cook. Excellent coverage by Brandon Spikes. They got a touchdown against tight coverage like this in the first half. That time, Brandon Spikes able to get his head around and knock the ball down.
3rd and 10. Davis, not the kind of blitz pickup blocker that Boyd is. Pressure coming, and down he goes. There is a flag down. Thrown on the outside near the sideline. It's the 22-yard line.
The sack goes to Carlos Dunlap. Steve Spurrier, very interested observer.
Illegal shift, number 18 of the offense. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
Now 4th down, and here comes the field goal unit.
Well, you remember last year in the ball game, special teams were the difference in the game. Jarvis Moss blocked a 48-yard field goal as time expired to save and preserve a 17-16 win for Florida. They also blocked another field goal and an extra point in that game last year.
And preserve their chance of national championship. Right. This is from 44. Suckup, plenty of leg, knocks it through. So South Carolina, after gambling near midfield on a 4th down, does get a field goal out of the drive, and it's 34-17, but they're still down 3 scores. Had to be disappointing to only get 3 out of that, but they had to come out of that drive with something. And now they line up in that same kick formation, trying to keep the ball away from Brandon James.
Part of the reason you line up like this is it messes up the blocking schemes for Florida, because it's all based on numbers. L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, R1. Onside, Florida was ready for it. They were anticipating it.
They were.
There's a flag down.
And it's in the area where it would have been offside on the kicking team.
You know, they've been in this bunch formation every kickoff, and they've kicked it down the field. They pooched it a couple times. They kicked it deep a couple times. This time, they go for the onside kick. It's got to go 10 yards before it's touched by a South Carolina player. Florida very alert to be right on top of it. Dorian Monroe, number 20, waiting for it.
That's just great awareness.
It is.
You know, you have to make sure you see. They always tell you, make sure you see the ball kicked instead of turning and running.
And that guy right there, Urban Myers, doesn't get enough credit, I think, for how good their special teams are. You know about Brandon James and their returns, but I mean, their punt team is phenomenal. Now, they haven't had to punt tonight, but they've only had 4 punts returned all season for a total of 22 yards. Their kickoff coverage, excellent. I mean, their special teams are as good as there are in college football.
Yep. Well, one of the officials may have gotten hurt.
Oh, we got an official down, so you might want to go ahead and take it.
It's the umpire. Apparently, we're told that he has a bloody nose. Being an umpire is, you're in a dangerous place.
Yeah, well, here he is right in the middle of this action right here. Ooh, ouch.
Oh,
wow. They're unpiling after that onside kick, and he took a helmet straight on to the schnoz.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
I was thinking from scrimmage he's in a dangerous place.
Yeah.
That's worse. 1st and 10 from the 36. Tebow. Plenty of time right down the middle. Bobbled twice and dropped by Caldwell.
I don't know how they can call this pass interference. Caldwell had the ball and bobbled it.
Woodson had the coverage.
My goodness.
And it's offensive.
Well, that makes a little more sense. The defensive one, I was going to say, I don't see how they can have. There's the push. Caldwell goes for the football. The flag was just so late coming out.
Yeah.
That was the reason I was a little confused. The push is obvious right there by Caldwell, but the flag comes out very late.
You're absolutely right. It's obvious, but it's not called enough.
No.
They let offensive guys get away with anything. Caldwell just trying to get a little separation. And that pushes him back to their side of the field after a 15-yard penalty. 1st and 25. James picks up about 7-8 yards. Checking with Holly.
Well, guys, you were talking about the prowess of Urban Meyer on special teams. It's been something he's done everywhere he's coached. It started when he was an assistant coach at Notre Dame, and the head coach, Bob Davie, put him in charge of special teams. I asked Coach Davie once, why did you do that? He was such a young guy, and he said he was a difference maker. No matter what we would do, if it was recruiting or coaching, he made a difference, and so I felt he would help us on special teams. Guys, everywhere he's been, they've had 7 blocked punts at Utah, 7 blocked punts at Bowling Green.
And Holly, a lot of people ignore special teams in college, and it normally comes back to bite them. It's such a difference maker. Frank Beamer has proved it year after year at Virginia Tech. Some guys like to split it up among 7, 8 coaches on the staff. I've never thought that worked for anybody.
Well, I think the thing that impresses me most about what they do is their punt team and their punt coverage. You know, they line up in different alignments all the time. I talked to Frank Beamer's son, Shane, who's with South Carolina before the game, said the thing that makes them so difficult, they've punted 30 times this year, but they've lined up in 11 different alignments. They never give you the same look, and they cover those kicks with great effectiveness.
3rd and 11, 3-man rush on Tebow. Pros on the run, got it down to the 20-yard line. That'll be a first down. Another catch by Caldwell.
So that time they drop 8, they still can't cover in the secondary.
Well, you can't cover that long. I mean, if you can't get to the quarterback and you allow Tebow to get out of the pocket and buy extra time, I don't care if you drop 18. I mean, you're going to find somebody with a white jersey that's open. They just have had absolutely no pressure whatsoever on Tim Tebow. He has not had any sense of duress when he's thrown the football tonight.
Clock turning. We're at 7 minutes, 11 seconds to go, 3rd quarter.
Gators driving again. James.
And they overcame a 15-yard offensive interference penalty and made a 1st and 25 to get the new set of downs.
I'm just impressed with their offense tonight. I'm impressed with Tim Tebow, but I'm impressed. And again, remember, their main weapon outside of Tebow, Percy Harvin, is at home. Didn't even make the trip. As a receiver and a runner, he's their explosive guy. And he's not even here, and they have just been methodical. I mean, they've attacked, they've thrown the ball down the field, they've been creative, and they've been virtually unstoppable.
Tebow gives it to James. This time, James dragged down in the backfield.
That is a really solid tackle by Ryan Brown, number 43. You mentioned Percy Harvin a week ago against Vanderbilt. He had 113 yards rushing, 110 yards receiving as a wide receiver. That's the first Florida Gator ever to go over 100 in both categories. That's how good that kid is.
Well, obviously, Steve Spurrier, when he was at Florida, had some pretty explosive, dynamic offenses. But this offense this year is putting up some pretty impressive numbers. And that guy right there, Percy Harvin, a big reason why. Coming into the game tonight, they have averaged 7 yards per play. Only 2 or 3 teams in Florida history ever did better.
Another big 3rd down. Norwood was trying to put some pressure on. That time, Caldwell dropped the ball. He had Stoney Woodson beaten, but couldn't hold it. And now the Gators will send out the field goal team.
The only time Florida has been stopped tonight has been when they've stopped themselves. Turnovers, drop balls like in that case. I mean, that should have been an easy first down conversion for Florida.
Ehas, who hasn't had that much action this year, only 7 out of 10 in the field goal department. Normally they get it in the end zone. They'll try from 34. And just hooked it inside the right upright. Culliver is deep. South Carolina still needs 3 scores. And this ball, I think he got out of bounds before it was touched, so that'll give him 5 yards. And Melvin Ingram got down there and got a hand on it.
Free kick infraction, kick out of bounds against the kicking team. South Carolina chooses to take the ball at the 35-yard line, first down.
And Blake Mitchell will start from the 35. They've had some great second halves in losing causes behind Mitchell. And Mitchell throws complete to Freddie Brown. Take you back to last year's meeting in Gainesville between these teams. It's our Good Hands flashback presented by Allstate. It was Steve Spurrier returning to the swamp as the head coach, this time of the Gamecocks. A huge night for Florida's Jarvis Moss. Midway through the 4th quarter, he blocked Ryan Succop's extra point attempt. And then with only 8 seconds to go, Moss with his second block of the quarter on a 48-yard field goal tried to preserve Florida's 1-point victory. Later, they would go on to win a national championship. They don't have the opportunity if they don't have those blocks.
Mitchell under pressure, throws, and it was behind Kenny McKinley. The pressure was coming from Derrick Harvey, who leads this team with 6.5 sacks.
I thought he was offsides. I mean, he really guessed on the snap count and just was off the ball so quickly that Justin Sorensen, the right tackle, had no chance to block him. I mean, that's a tough matchup for Sorensen anyway. Blake Mitchell needs to help his tackle out with a little change in the snap count. Don't let 91 guess your snap count and beat you off the ball.
2nd and 10 from the South Carolina, or from the Florida 49. Mitchell this time throws a strike and has a first down. Catch by Mo Brown.
Virginia, I'll tell you, they must be a little better than I thought. They lost to Wyoming 23-3 the first game of the year, but they're right in it in the ACC.
Mitchell, good toss to Mo Brown, and the Orange Bowl certainly had its day, but I'm glad they're moving out of that dump, because its day was a long time ago.
Well, the day of its press box was a long time ago.
Yes,
that's for sure for us.
Yes,
those of us who have worked games there.
If you liked a place that leaked from every part of the roof, that was your building.
Second and about 4 for Mitchell.
Almost intercepted, should have been. Major Wright had it right in his hands. It was intended for Cook. And there's a flag down. This could be interference against the Gators. It's holding. And that will be a first down for South Carolina.
This might be a time where Steve Spurrier could slip a run in here, even though they've got to score 3 times. Right now, the defensive line for Florida is thinking only pass. I mean, they are pinning their ears back and trying to get to Blake Mitchell.
And he's got Corey Boyd back in there. Remember, Boyd hurt his arm earlier. If you're going to run, that's the guy you want doing it.
Automatic first down at the Gator 21. Mitchell over the middle, the big tight end Wesley Saunders rumbling and stumbling.
Boy, this guy is enormous.
Yeah.
6'5", 279.
Well, he's right here. The other tight end, Boyd's going to run the defense off. And he's going to come right across on the crossing route. Saunders, the true freshman, right in front of the face of Blake Mitchell. It's out of his hands quickly. And then Saunders with a little elusiveness over on the sideline.
It's not right for a guy who's 279 to be able to move like that.
2 tight ends again in this set on inside the 5-yard line for South Carolina.
They look to the sideline for the play from Steve Spurrier. Boyd bounces off a tackle and goes in for the touchdown. Corey Boyd never quits. If you don't wrap him up, he'll burn you.
So now it's a 2-touchdown game.
Good job lowering in his shoulder, keeping the legs moving. Nobody wraps him up. Into the end zone he goes.
The senior from Orange, New Jersey. 65 yards in less than 2 minutes on that drive. Suck up with a point after. They're back within 13.
I got to tell you something else about this play. I had more suggestions. Even offensive linemen tell me I need to go to the Palmetto Pig if I ever come back to Columbia. I had all kinds of suggestions.
James on the kickoff return finally got his hands on the ball, and that's why they didn't want to kick it to him.
He's out to the 42 of Todd's Taste of the Town. I can't believe this. You can find them all at ESPN.com for searching Taste of the Town. Can a book be far behind?
It'll be an edible one if it is. Figure some way to figure that out.
I like what they wrote last week. It's not fair that you don't weigh 500 pounds. But you keep getting gravy on your gravy, and you will.
Gravy on my gravy.
Now let's see how the Gators respond as they've had the lead cut to 13. South Carolina showing an 8-man front.
I think they've got to try to go after Tim Tebow and try to change the line of scrimmage and create some negative plays.
Sitting back hasn't helped. They'll pitch it this time, and Keyston Moore with running room for the first time tonight.
See, that's what makes this option and this part of the offense so dangerous, because just when you say, okay, we're going to put some more pressure, we're going to go after, we're going to blitz, option football destroys that, because that forces you to play softer. It forces you to be conscious of who's got who. That time they showed pressure, they checked to an option, and nobody had the pitch man outside.
It was really 2-on-1.
Yep.
It was like running a fast break, and they got a lot of yards out of it. They're down to the 34, first down.
Option football, even though there's not a whole lot of teams that run it anymore, is a great neutralizer of the blitz. It forces the defense to play more vanilla-type defense.
James goes up the middle. You know, you hear people say, well, we'll get to that in a second. There's a guy we really like, Jacob Hester.
Yep. One of the most enjoyable guys we got to spend time with this year.
Tebow out of the gun. He'll keep it this time. It just picks his way onto the 26-yard line.
LSU, I think, after tonight, with games remaining against Ole Miss and Arkansas, I think that's who they have left in conference.
You hear people say, you know, it's not your grandfather's car, it's not your grandfather's offense. This is your grandfather's offense. This is the direct snap to the quarterback, variation of the single wing, especially when they run an option out of it.
And especially with a guy like Tebow, who's running power football with it, just like this. You know, that is single wing offense.
Yes, it
right
is.
there.
Direct snap, go get them. Let's go to Holly.
Well, guys, good news for Florida fans. Their guard, Marquise Pouncey, has had negative x-rays on that right ankle. They're saying that it's just a high ankle sprain, so great news for them. They feared it was initially broken, but not the case. And no indication of when he'll be able to return to play, but next week they have Florida Atlantic and then Florida State. So hopefully he will not be out for the rest of the season, guys.
Boy, you're right, Holly. It's wonderful news for him. Wonderful news for the Gators. We're clinging to the hope that they will still make the SEC championship game. They need some help. Tebow again, Norwood with pressure on him, but he got it outside to Cornelius Ingram, and Ingram driven out of bounds near the 15-yard line.
I think the thing also that stands out to me about Tebow in this game tonight is his poise. I mean, he has played with great poise. He has just taken what the defense has given him. He's been patient. He hasn't forced plays, and he's made a bunch of big ones.
See so much of this now. Quarterbacks looking to the sideline after the defense shows them what they're going to do. James. Not much. The South Carolina defense has just been shredded between tonight and the Arkansas game. Over 1,100 yards and 12 touchdowns in 6 quarters. Jeez.
Well, and what's happened is they've had a very difficult time stopping the run the last couple of weeks. That hadn't been a real problem earlier. But, you know, the key to playing good defense is to make a team one-dimensional and try to take something away. Well, they didn't take the run away last week. They didn't take the run away this week. And it's hard to stop folks.
Caldwell. Well, they really haven't. They haven't taken Tebow's run away. They haven't taken anybody else's run away. They haven't taken the passing game away. First and goal for the Gators. South Carolina must hold them to a field goal try. Tebow. Rejected that time.
Yeah.
And about the first time he's taken a solid hit in about a month.
And about the first time that they did what you've been suggesting that they do, and that is forget the misdirection. Don't worry about the fake. Tackle the guy who's going to carry the football, 15. They got 4 guys to the football that time. That has been a rarity tonight, having that many black shirts getting to Tim Tebow at the same time.
I'd rather tackle somebody else
You know, make him keep it. Go after him.
Has it again. He'll dump it off.
Down to the 5-yard line. Face on. Brandon Isaac took him down at the 5. Gators inside the 20. 6 times, 4 touchdowns, a field goal.
That's right about the way they've been all season. 75% of the time they score touchdowns when they're in the red zone.
The other time they turned it over. Huge third down. 11th play of the drive.
Tebow has walked in several times from this very spot.
Here he goes again.
Look at that power. Touchdown.
That was a designed quarterback run. I mean, that
and they still didn't stop.
That wasn't a scramble. That was a design run. And the only difference is he had linemen getting downfield to block. I mean, they were called to screen. So he had a little bit of help, but look at that power. Just blew through the middle linebacker, Melvin Ingram. That wasn't a defensive back. That was number 6, Melvin Ingram, who he ran over into the end zone.
Well, run over is the right description. Wow. 21 carries, 98 yards for Tebow. A career-high 5 rushing touchdowns. That's 19 on the ground for Tebow. What a player. Laws where they had to have somebody to protect them. So they're 0-8, excuse me. And South Carolina will start from the 20. But now South Carolina in a real bind. Davis in there for Boyd, dragging tacklers with him up to the 28-yard line. And some of the faithful here in South Carolina have decided that's about it, and they're headed for the exits. This would be the 4th consecutive loss for South Carolina if they were number 6 in the country. Here's Holland.
Guys, I've been very concerned by something down here on the sideline since the opening kickoff for this football game. There are these large cows all over the sideline. Of course, they're the Chick-fil-A cows trying to advertise, but it says, eat more chicken. Do they not know these are the Gamecocks? I think it's been bad karma from the start.
Yeah. Strange.
Thank you, Holly. Got any gravy down there? That's a great ad campaign. Yeah, the Gators have been chomping on chicken.
You mentioned the 4-game losing streak. If this game continues the course it's on, for Steve Spurrier, that would be the first 4-game losing streak that he has had since his first year as a head coach in 1987 at Duke.
That says something about him, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And of course, when he won the championship at Duke in the ACC, he has always deflected the praise for that by saying, you know, I had a lot of good players at Duke. Well, those were guys he recruited. You know, so that's just part of coaching. And this guy has been able to win wherever he has gone and been able to win big. Of course, it was easier at Florida, Todd, because he was right in the middle of recruiting heaven down there.
Well, the good news for him is I think it will get better because they had an excellent recruiting class this past year, and a lot of those guys are playing this year. They're playing a lot of true freshmen this season on both sides of the ball, and it's all about recruiting. And that's the key to it in college football.
Yeah, no matter how good a coach you are, if you don't have the players, if you don't have the horses, you can draw all the X's and O's you want, and it doesn't work. But he can make a difference as a coach. He's proven that. 3rd and long here. And this would drop them to 3-5 in the SEC, 6-5 overall, if they cannot mount a huge comeback. Mitchell throws underneath to Mo Brown. He's fighting for that first down stick and is just shy. Probably no doubt that they'll go for it here on 4th for less than a
Mitchell has had 2 big ball games in losses, particularly the second half at Tennessee, when he was lights out. But tonight has been held in check pretty much. Davis. That'll be close. That will be right at the marker.
Well, you mentioned Florida. I mean, what's down the road for them? This is their last SEC game. If they hang on and win here tonight, that'll put them at 5-3 in the league and still needing help from Georgia and Tennessee. If it gets into a tiebreaker situation, they would own the tiebreaker over Tennessee, but not over Georgia in a head-to-head situation.
They needed to be 3-way. Pass complete short to LaCorn, the freshman. Wandy Pierre-Louis makes the catch. Florida content to let South Carolina have these short completions and burn up the clock. One of the problems for South Carolina is they haven't been able to stop Florida, even if they score and give them the ball back. The Gators have been able to control it pretty well. Blitz coming, and Mitchell has to throw it short and incomplete. But you've been analyzing college football this year, and every week there's something unbelievable to look at, isn't it?
Well, it's been a fun season. I mean, this week, I mean, obviously Ohio State losing was the big story. Illinois, a great win for Ron Zook, former head coach at Florida. Sylvester Croom, Mississippi State bowl eligible for the first time since 2000. That's awesome. And Notre Dame, as memorable of a year it was for a lot of teams, forgettable kind of a year for the Fighting Irish. Fumble on the play. Florida
Gators saying they have it. Yeah. But the officials are going to rule it was down. Ball was knocked away by Major Wright, but too late. And now one official overrules the other and says it is Florida football. Davis says no way. One official pointed to the ground, which meant the ball was down.
Well, and the difference is if it's called a fumble, it's a reviewable play. If it's called a down, a knee touching down, it's not a reviewable play. We'll take another look at it here. Again, it was called a fumble. Mike Davis lowers the shoulder. That ball looked like it was coming out before he hit the ground. Yep. That was a big-time hit from Major Wright, the freshman free safety. Now, the scary thing for Florida opponents, that could have very easily been called a helmet-to-helmet hit also. So that was a major collision. This is a young Florida football team.
Yes, it is.
As well. I mean, there are a lot of freshmen and sophomores that make up the roster of the Florida Gators. A lot of significant players.
Davis being talked to on the sideline. You know, I've been around Sly Croom on and off forever. And you got to be so happy for him with a huge win at Mississippi State and has that team bowl eligible.
And they're solid. I mean, they're running the football. They're playing good defense. They got a freshman quarterback that's come in and played well. Talk about Notre Dame. First 9-loss season in school history, and the first time since 1944 they've lost to 2 service academies in the same year.
That's when they played 2, Army and Navy.
Yeah.
Those were the only 2 there were.
Yeah. And they were both playing for championships
Absolutely.
at that time.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Navy, a tremendous shootout in their game with North Texas today. Most points ever scored in a game.
Yeah, you beat Notre Dame one week, North Texas the next.
I tell you, that guy's a good football coach.
Yes,
Paul Johnson at Navy's a good football coach.
Done a heck of a job. And now Duke will get a shot at Notre Dame next week, trying to make them 1-10. Duke also a 1-victory school this year.
And that game is important. Why? What did you say?
Because it's Notre Dame at 1-9. And the fact that Duke would have a chance to beat Notre Dame, isn't that fascinating?
It is to me. 9:18 to go in this one. Florida cruising. Urban Meyer looking for another big win. And they are checking the spot of the ball after the last play before we went to commercial on a coach's challenge. I think Steve Spurrier just exercising all the options he can think of at this point. What the discussion is on this play, the yard to make is the 47. Ball is juggled, and as the receiver came back, it was right about at the sticks.
After review, video evidence confirms the call on the field. The spot was proper. It is a first down.
If you're waiting for Sports Center, it's going to be on ESPN News at the top of the hour. James, who is playing a lot of running back tonight because Percy Harvin is home with a sinus infection, they think, and migraine headaches on top of it. That's got to be a lousy combination. But they did not need him tonight. They have plenty of other weapons. And the Gators, as we told you, still alive in the SEC East, but they do need some help. Tebow on a little half roll will throw, and that one's incomplete, intended for his fullback Eric Rutledge. The key remaining games for all three of these teams, Tennessee still has to play Vanderbilt and Kentucky. Georgia has to play Kentucky. For Florida to get in there, it's got to be a three-way tie. So Tennessee and Georgia both have to lose once. Should Tennessee lose twice and Georgia and Florida tie for the lead, Georgia has the tiebreaker on Florida. If it's a three-way tie, Florida has the tiebreaker. But if those other teams don't lose, Tennessee is the team that determines its own future. Tebow takes off.
I'm not so
surprised
sure.
He's still there.
I was just going to make the point. At this point, I think I would maybe look to take him out and not let his body take any more hits and let somebody else come in and play quarterback.
He's run the ball 22 times.
And he's gotten hit. You know, I mean, he's had a marvelous game. He's obviously back to full strength, but he does still have, you know, a shoulder that's been banged up. I mean, I wouldn't want him to take any more hits tonight.
And he had that record, 27 carries against Ole Miss, so he's only 5 off of that, and he's still in the ballgame. Now he's throwing for the end zone and dropped. Murphy, what a throw by Tebow.
That's a couple times Louis Murphy has had a similar play. A well-thrown ball by Tebow, and Murphy just not able to come down with it. And that's you don't throw him any better than that.
Yep. Big rangy kid, 6'2", 202. But if you don't catch it, it doesn't matter how many times you get open. This has got to be a big statement for Tebow and his Heisman chances, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. Outstanding game. I think I really think the top two guys are Tim Tebow and Dennis Dixon. Of course, Dixon didn't play today. Both of them with a couple games left, and you know, the only other game we had Florida was against Auburn, and their offense didn't play the same way. Auburn's defense did a great job against Tebow, against Percy Harvin. Of course, Harvin was banged up and was not 100% that game.
The next 3 weeks, we may have a couple of chances, or one at least, to see Pat White at West Virginia. Certainly, I think he's faster than all the other two-dimensional quarterbacks. Tebow again too strong down the middle. Tebow third nationally. And the Gators are going to punt. Chaz Henry may not be able to find his helmet. If you're the Florida punter, you don't get a lot of action. first punt tonight.
Well, Steve Spurrier said he hoped that they could force him to punt some in the second half.
Well, here's one.
Yeah.
But at 44-24, it's not much of a victory. We've got a timeout. Gators in control.
Sounds like she's been hanging out with Jaws in the film room. She kind of has that same, you know, she gets after it.
She's just like you, just another gearhead, you know?
Yeah.
Mitchell goes underneath the Corey Boyd, still fighting.
Boyd across the 20. There's a kid that will never quit on you. If this is the fourth loss in a row for South Carolina, and it would be if they don't come back, they dropped to 6-5 with arch rival Clemson remaining. What happens if you're 6-6? You're bowl eligible, but do you make a bowl game?
Well, it might be tough. I mean, it's you know, there's going to be a lot of teams that are kind of stuck in that area. You have maybe a team like a Mississippi State that might be a more attractive bowl team from this conference anyway. Or, you know, of course, bowl people are after the top 1 and 2, where you're trying to match 1 and 2 in the BCS game. They're more concerned with who's going to travel the most people, who's going to come to our town, spend the most money, you know, do those kind of things.
Sure.
Which you understand that's the way they view it.
That's why you wonder, because Mississippi State, a team that hasn't been to a bowl in a while, but what's their reputation for traveling people if they do make it? So you just don't know. Mitchell throws to Mo Brown. Of course, there's so many automatic bowl tie-ins. And the SEC this year with so many teams that are going to be bowl eligible.
Yeah. Well, they have, what is that? 8. They have 8, and they have 10 eligible teams, and Vanderbilt 1 win away from making it an 11 teams eligible.
And Notre Dame will not be taking one away this year.
Well, he's had kind of a quiet night. You know, Kenny McKinley, who's been a big-time receiver, is as productive as any receiver in the Southeastern Conference this year. Had the huge game against Tennessee when we were here a couple weeks ago, or in Knoxville.
And that's 68 catches this year. There was a question whether he was going to be good enough to be a #1 guy and replace Sidney Rice. He certainly answered all those questions.
3-man rush. Mitchell deep sideline, incomplete. There's a flag down.
Intended for Dion LaCorn, covered by Joe Hayden, number 12. Let's go to Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, the South Carolina University community suffered a horrible tragedy 2 weeks ago when 6 students from South Carolina and 1 student from Clemson were killed in a tragic beach house fire. Now, Steve Spurrier has been very touched by this tragedy. He's very concerned about the parents and families who are grieving. So he's having his football players wear a sticker, and they've also painted this beautiful ribbon on the field to remember the victims. The sticker on the helmets reads, "Forever to thee." It's a line from the school alma mater, and he said, "I can't imagine the pain of having to bury a child. Our hearts are certainly with all the families of the victims."
And a weekend away from school for those 7 kids, and it ended that way. That's just awful.
And it strikes so hard at college and high school students, because all of them at this point in their lives still feel invincible. They have everything in front of them, and it's an awful thing for them to face. Five minutes to go if you still believe in fairy tale endings. The lead is 20. Blake Mitchell trying to make it a 2-score game if he can.
Four-man rush. Mitchell with a man in his face, throws underneath. That should be interference, and it is. McKinley turned around, tried to get to the ball. Dorian Monroe never saw it and ran right through him.
Well, it was an underthrown pass because of some pressure on Blake Mitchell. He didn't get enough on the ball, and when it was underthrown, Dorian Monroe had no idea where the ball was. And as McKinley tried to stop to make a play for the football, Monroe ran into it.
Pass interference, number 20. Defense, 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
You see a lot of that at the sideline where it's intentionally underthrown to beat guys. But it's a little tougher to intentionally underthrow it down the middle because there's so many bodies around.
Yeah, that was not an intentional underthrow. That was an underthrow as a result of pressure.
Yep.
But they got the penalty and moved him inside the 20.
4:54 left. Mitchell short set, throws to the sideline. Great leaping grab by LaCourne. This kid's got quite a future.
Well, Deion LaCourne is one of that freshman class. He is one of the 15 guys that have played out of this highly touted freshman class. LaCourne out of Ocala, Florida, 5'11", 215 pounds. I mentioned earlier was a teammate in high school with John Brantley, who is a quarterback that the Gators are really excited about that young man's future, too.
You saw what kind of leaping ability he had. Boyd lowers his shoulder, gets down to the 2-yard line. Not many South Carolina fans seeing this potential touchdown. The stadium is emptied out in a hurry.
Second and goal.
I remember once as a kid leaving a 3-touchdown game, my uncle took me out with about 5 minutes to go, and they came back and won the game. Never left again. Stayed till the bitter end no matter what. Boyd, touchdown. 3 rushing touchdowns tonight for Corey Boyd, which gives him 9 on the season.
Smartly recovered by Dorian Monroe.
Well, they're going to have to smartly recover at least one more because it's coming. 13-point lead. I mean, how can Jim Thorpe, if that's the case? We'll see. There is the onside kick, and the Gators have recovered at the 41-yard line. 25 guys on the first ballot. And I said, there's no way I can take any of these guys out. If you want the best 50 players, they're on you. Tebow still in the game, which amazes me, and still running, which amazes me even more, and picks up nearly 10.
Yeah, I don't quite get that. I admire the guy's toughness and strength and courage, but I just, at this point, of course, you know what? Again, it gets back to this thing with them. They want to run the clock out right now, and the way to run the clock out is to run the football. And the best guy they have running the football is him. I mean, that's the reality of who Florida is.
But you don't even need the best guy running it out now, do you? You just need a guy.
Yeah, true. I mean, you want to make a couple first downs, but I see your point.
There goes Tebow again, straight up the middle. Now, after the game against Ole Miss, when he carries it 27 times, they said, yeah, that was too much. We overdid it, but we had to have him run the ball at the end of the game to win it. Yeah. That was the reasoning behind that. They don't need him to run the ball right now to win it. Yeah. They're up by 13 points with 3 minutes to go.
You're right.
And certainly Urban Meyer and his coaching staff know the Gators far better than I do. I'm not trying to criticize their decisions. I don't understand. I would need somebody to explain it to me.
I think Urban told him to slide the next time he runs. I think that's what he told him right there when they were together. Let's see if he slides here or not. Yeah, I thought that's what Urban said. Don't take any more shots. I mean, I want you to run it. I trust you more than anybody else handling the football, but just don't take any more hits.
Well, you also expose him to somebody being frustrated and deciding to hit him late.
He's run the ball 26 times. He's thrown it 30. He's going to be first in line for the hot tub. Clock running again. 2:06 to go in the game, and Moore will get a rare carry. He's the 21. Let's check in with Holly.
Well, guys, Tim Tebow is a very excitable player, and his offense feeds off of that. The doctors at Florida actually put a chest strap heart monitor on him just to see what his heart rate was. From the second he steps onto the practice field, his heart rate is at 150. It stays that way as an average of 150 throughout the entire practice. Now, guys, think about that. Todd, when you're working out, does your heart even get up to 150? That's the level this kid is playing at. Before the game, he chest bumped his offensive coordinator, Dan Mullen, almost put him on the ground. Headbutted Tony Joyner. He is just an excitable guy, and that really fuels this football team.
Gators have had tremendous success back-to-back national championships for the first time since Duke did it in the early 90s. They had 3 players out of the first 9 picks in the draft. So the cupboard a little bare there. Only 11.8 points a game coming back. And Billy Donovan and Urban Meyer have fed off of each other ever since they have been coaching at this school. Tebow on the run, throws, Caldwell, touchdown.
I think after
Changing your
tonight,
mind?
Tim Tebow's the best that I've seen this season.
He's pretty good.
He wasn't this good against Auburn a few weeks ago when we saw him, but tonight he's been spectacular.
It's
Absolutely
his first ever game rushing for over 100 and throwing for over 300. He has 424 yards in total offense in this game.
He's a great resource for me. I hope in some way I can be a great resource for him. But, you know, I think anytime there's things that come up during the course of the season that you want to bounce things off of, I think both of us, you know, right now being here at the University of Florida have really been able to rely on each other, you know, quite a bit, you know, in different situations.
Pretty good when you can share ideas with a guy who has won a national championship in his sport to match yours.
I'm just still amazed. You know, when you think about it, you find out on Friday, because I talked to Urban Meyer in the tunnel before the game. He said he just found out yesterday, you know, that Harvin wasn't going to be able to come.
Okay, if you're going to lean on somebody, that's a pretty good guy to pick. Mitchell, flanker screen. And South Carolina doing everything it can to try to gain some more yardage, and Kenny McKinley, another big night. Coming up after the game, Sports Center, Scott Van Pelt and Neil Everett. Number 1 goes down again. And which team will benefit the most from Ohio State's loss? 136 points and 1,300 yards. The highest scoring game in Division I history, and it wasn't even an overtime. And we'll take a look at the Cowboys-Giants, the rematch, and why the Giants think it will be different and the Cowboys don't. McKinley, almost another 100-yard game, 7 catches for 95 yards. And now Mitchell will go down under some pressure. And the clock running as we approach the 1-minute mark. A.J. Jones and Jermaine Cunningham got in there. Steve Spurrier going to be a little frustrated as the losing streak grows to 4. And Mitchell, as so often happens in a losing cause, has gone over 300 yards passing. Really can't complain about his performance the last 3 weeks. He has been really sharp. Only the second time in his career that he's lost 4 in a row. The first was his first year as a head coach at Duke. We are approaching 1,000 yards in total offense in this game. It's like the old Houston run and shoot when they play somebody.
But from the very beginning, it's been had that feeling of South Carolina playing catch up. And clock has finally run out on them.
Just too much to ask to come from behind on this night. Final score 51-31. SportsCenter comes up next over on ESPN News Postgame Extra. This has been a presentation of ESPN.